Jonathan Conricus, who is the Senior Fellow, FDD, and former IDF spokesperson, is joining us live here on the broadcast. Jonathan, thank you very much for taking out your time. This is a historic moment, and this breakthrough that is being witnessed world over, the role that has been played by you and the IDF as well ever since this conflict began 2 years ago. What are your first thoughts?
Well, thank you for having me on. It is indeed a happy and positive day. We are getting back our 20 live hostages and hopefully all of the remains of 28 murdered hostages. And then that will turn the page on a situation that lasted for 2 years, where basically this terror organization, Hamas, had leverage over the state of Israel. And once those hostages will be returned, we'll be in a different situation, one that will allow Israel much more flexibility and freedom of movement. I hope that President Trump's plan will indeed be implemented on the ground, that Hamas will hand over their weapons, that they will relinquish control over the Gaza Strip. If they do, I can see a pathway forward towards positive development and even one day, God willing, peace in the region. But that is not where we are today. Hamas is still adamant that they will hold on to their weapons. They're refusing to hand over their weapons. And if they don't hand over their weapons, and by the way, what they've been doing over the last 24 hours is brutal executions on the streets of Palestinians, of dissidents and people that they perceive are threats. So if Hamas don't hand over their weapons, then this isn't going any further. And the only positive thing, and I say only, of course, it's not a small thing, is that we would have gotten our hostages back. But there's room for optimism today. Beautiful day. Sights of joy in Israel where families are reunited, loved ones are coming back to start the long, long journey of healing, physical and mental, and for families to be reunited and to have a place of mourning. I know in Indian culture it's different, but in Israel we bury our people, and it's important for us to have a physical place for people to mourn, and that is going to be provided to the families to have some kind of closure.
Absolutely, Jonathan, because we are looking at those pictures coming in as, the hostages are reuniting with their families, emotional scenes that are now playing out. But after, 738 days, as the IDF says, the hostage release that has now happened. But on the other side, do you believe that there would be still security challenges, as said by the Prime Minister himself? Mr. Netanyahu is of the opinion, especially when it comes to releasing Hamas terrorists. How does that play out, especially when they are seeking for everlasting peace?
Yeah, let's be blunt. As long as Hamas exists and as long as Hamas holds sway, whether it is in Gaza or what you would refer to as the West Bank, what we here in the region call Judea and Samaria, wherever they hold sway, if they are in power, then there cannot be peace and there will be war and fighting. Why? Because their ideology is not an ideology of coexistence, of a two-state solution. Their worldview is binary. It is a one-state solution, and the one state that Hamas and their ilk are aspiring is an Islamic state, where the Jews are either dead in the sea or subjugated under Muslim rule. None of those options are ever going to happen as long as we can fight and say anything about it, and therefore, as long as Hamas exists, then the chances really of peace are quite limited, and therefore I agree with, of course, what the Prime Minister said. The fighting isn't over, the war isn't over. This is a very important milestone, but the clash of civilizations, or the battle here between the forces of democracy, of light and freedom versus the forces of darkness, radicalism and Islamism, it is still very much ongoing. We're simply at a important and positive milestone where we're getting our hostages back, and looking forward towards the future, we will be more flexible to do other things.
Do you believe, Jonathan, that Hamas will hold on to its promise? But as far as when it comes to the other threats, like Hezbollah terrorists pointed out by the IDF in its post, there has been recent incidents as well when it comes to the group's infrastructure was devastated, was decimated rather in southern Lebanon. So how do you counter the other threats?
You make a very, very good point. In Lebanon, the deal that was accomplished with the Lebanese government, the US, France, and Israel, basically part of the agreement was that Israel had the freedom of action to pursue, using kinetic military means, any violation of the situation by Hezbollah. So if they went south, if they tried to reuse military infrastructure, they would be legitimate military targets, and the IDF would be within its bounds to attack Hezbollah, which the IDF has been doing quite significantly. That is not the situation that we have in Gaza. President Trump's plan is supposed to be a pathway towards real peace and for a real change.
Well, Jonathan, as you mentioned President Trump, I'm just going to quickly interrupt you and describe the pictures that are coming in. This is from the parliament there, as President Trump is accompanied by Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, and I believe he has been giving out statements, finally this declaration saying that this is a historic moment. Every side is cheering, the world is cheering, and this war is now over. Do you believe, as far as the acknowledgement of the work that has been put in by the United States and Israel, the alliance that has now come forward in ending this war once and for all? Both sides, the pictures that we are playing here, it's an emotional moment. Many of the families breaking down, people embracing, people cheering. How would you describe these pictures, Jonathan?
Well, I would first and foremost say thank you to the American president for helping bring our hostages home. It wouldn't have been possible without him and his style of diplomacy, maybe unorthodox, but very effective. And like so many Israelis, I am very, very grateful for this American president, for our enduring alliance. I think democracies should stand together. Democracies should fight together against the forces of darkness. And what the President Trump has done is to stand together with the U.S. strongest ally in the region, which is Israel. And we are very thankful for it. And no, the war is not over. As I've explained before that, it's a good, beautiful moment of ceasefire and hostages coming home. And thank you to President Trump. But tomorrow morning, we will look around. We will still see the same ugly faces of extremism around us. We know that they will still try to kill us and eradicate the state of Israel. And we know that we will have to continue to defend ourselves. As long as Hamas exists, as long as the Islamic Republic in Iran has money and the ability to sponsor terrorism in the region, we will be fighting. The moment they're defeated, there won't be any more fighting, and we can all focus on prosperity and beautiful things in the future.
Right. What about those talks that are going to happen in Egypt, where President Trump would be soon making his way for? Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is not attending that meeting, but this emotional scenes that are now playing out, especially on your opinion, because you've been involved right from the start when this conflict broke out, Jonathan. How would you describe it personally, especially when it comes to the troops of the IDF who fought, acted over the past 2 years with a lot of courage, bravery and dedication?
Yes, I'm very happy that even though we started this war with a tremendous and humiliating setback, the IDF, thanks to its excellent commanders, brave soldiers on the ground, regular troops and reservists, some of them my age, old men, 45 years old, was able to persevere, fight for 2 years in a long 7-front war, simultaneously in the air, on the ground, underground, at sea, against many enemies far and near, and now to be strong enough to deliver the military situation that can allow for this deal to be made. So as ashamed as I was on October the 7th for how this started and what Hamas was able to do, which we must never forget, and we must always remember the lessons of that horrible military and political failure that led to October 7. But as ashamed as I was then, I'm happy today, and I'm proud of the achievements that the brave men and women of the IDF, Mossad, Shabak, and police and others have been able to do.
Yes, the IDF is of the opinion that the military pressure that was applied, together with the complementary diplomatic measures that constitute a victory over Hamas, and they will continue to act in order to shape a security reality that ensures Hamas does not pose a threat to the state of Israel and to its civilians. President Donald Trump, along with Prime Minister Netanyahu at the Israel parliament, the emotional homecoming that we're also looking at this operation, which the IDF has now named, this is an emotional scene that seems to be playing out over the return of all the 20 live hostages. Jonathan, appreciate you joining us here and taking out your time. Thank you very much for speaking to Times Now.